Good evening. Call the Board of Health meeting together at 6:32 p.m. First up on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the October 17th meeting.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from the October 17th.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Number 2, Region 2 Emergency Preparedness. I have not heard back yet as to when that drill definitely will be up at Shepherd Hill during Christmas vacation.
Okay, does it have to be scheduled with the school and everything?
They're working on it, yeah. Paul is working on it. Paul and Sarah are working on it. So I have not heard back from them as to when precisely it would be.
Was it the 27th or
I
something
think that's
like that?
what they were aiming for, so they'll let me know and we'll go from there.
All right.
That's all I have. Number 3, Health Inspector's Report. Hi, Tom.
Okay.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
Yeah, looking tan.
Actually we conducted a bunch of food inspections to try to catch up in the last couple of weeks or last week or so. Teresa put together a nice list of all of our permitted facilities, and I'd like to present before the board, the next Board of Health meeting, a list of suggested facilities that only need to have 1 inspection per year instead of 2 or 3 that would be required. And that would be mostly the smaller retail food stores, convenience stores, bar rooms. They're low risk. They're very low risk ones. But in order to make it official, so we had notified the state that we're only doing 1 inspection a year. I have to present it to the board and have a list of everything all made up, and we'll have that for the next meeting. We have some communication from our tobacco control coordinator that it's time for renewing the grant, and there's some paperwork that needs to be handled. I don't know if Teresa got the paperwork. Okay, have we done anything with it, or?
We had proactively done the initial letter previously, but we were told that the wording needed to be changed.
Okay.
That'll be done this week.
All right. And then we could just give it to Mrs. Knoyer, or just bring it to the Board of Health meeting? You want it the next meeting to have it signed off, or?
I think
Just
everybody
have-
signed off previously.
They did,
Jen
okay.
just needs
So-
to
Yeah.
sign one.
Amend what has to be amended, and then have Jen sign it off,
Yeah.
so we can get it back to Megan as quickly as possible. It's coming in on the end of the grant period, so time is of the essence on that. There's a little bit of activity, building construction activity. I have one particular issue on Pierpont. It appears as though there's going to be one that it's either going to be a variance. It goes beyond what's called a local upgrade approval, which is a variance that we generically approve a lot of these. But the next one, they're going to have a leaching facility within 50 feet of their own well, and that's pretty much a no-no. But there is no more land to put the septic system on and have the wells, so the engineer is trying very hard to get this system in. He doesn't have much luck with coordinating his activities with our Board of Health meetings and all of that, and doing all his mailings the way he's supposed to do them. But one of the things that I'll bring it before the board tonight. Do you want to just, well, it's a variance, it has to appear, it has to be a public hearing before the Board of Health. It's not something that just the agent can approve. A few of the abutters will have to be notified. There's 3 or 4 abutters that will have to be notified, because this system also affects them. And although it's legal for whatever they're doing for the abutters, but for himself, he's in gross violation. The only way around it I can see is that he has to do what's called denitrification, means he has to do a secondary treatment of his sewage effluent before he discharges it into the ground to minimize or eliminate any pollution that might get into his own well. So that'll kind of give you an update of what's happening there with that system. I know that the engineer's a little flustered, but it appears as though he's also new at it, so he doesn't know his way around the way he should. So.
And then the abutting properties are, their wells are more than 100 feet away?
They're more than 50.
They have to be 50?
Yeah, they have, the minimum is 50. But if it's greater than 50 but less than 100, the neighbor must be notified and made available, and the opportunity for them to come in before a public hearing before the Board of Health, so that they're well aware of what's happening. They're supposed to be notified by certified mail return receipt requested. If they don't choose to show up at the meeting, that's their option, but at least they've been properly notified. If it's under 50 feet, then I suppose the next thing to do would be to grant a variance. And usually when you have a variance of some type, usually there's some other condition that goes along with it. You can either do one of two things. You can either have them put a denitrification system on, which that's going to cost them about another $7,000 to $10,000 extra on his septic system, or you can make them do mandatory well testing. Testing as well every year to take a look and watch for nitrates and nitrites when if they start to show up. A Title V well test is about $125. You've got one of two options if the board wants to make any suggestion.
And if his water comes back undrinkable because of?
Then they'd be subject to either doing a proper abandonment or to denitrify his system and then continue testing. Denitrify means to take a lot of the pollutants out of his septic system, pre-treat before he discharges it into the ground. Then he has to stop using his well, obviously, for health reasons.
They're living in the house now, what are they doing?
They have a cesspool and they have a well, and I'm almost certain that cesspool is within 50 feet of
Well,
it.
they just bought the house, so I'm just wondering how they got permits to live in the house after they had just purchased it.
There's no prerequisite for a sign-off from the Board of Health for them to move in. If they go to upset the apple cart by pulling a permit for this or that, well, that opens the door to protect people from themselves. And that's all we're looking to do, is protect them from themselves. We don't want them to be misinformed by some sellers or brokers or anything like that. We want them to be well aware of what the terms and conditions are. And then, obviously, you don't want people shooting themselves in the foot either. So you want to make sure that they're informed and they're not going to hurt themselves.
And it's an easy fix to clean the water?
It's not an easy fix. It's expensive, but it can be done. It can be done.
They can't bathe, they can't do laundry,
Well,
cook, drink.
they can do actually all of that stuff
They can?
except cook and drink.
You can do laundry with that kind of water?
Sure.
Really?
It's not much different than, depending on what the concentration is of the products, it's swimmable water. It may not be drinkable water or potable water, but it certainly is probably swimmable water. We'd know that when you test the well, that's all.
And at this rate, he's not looking at getting this in till the spring.
Well, he's not going to get construction now, not this time of year.
That's not, okay.
He hasn't even filed the paperwork yet
Right.
properly
Right.
because the process is that he's supposed to notify the abutters 10 days in advance. And he's supposed to demonstrate that he has notified them, in which he has not. He's given us a couple of receipts on mailings, but he hasn't given us a green cards back, saying that the certified mail return receipt has been delivered, or the actual package itself has to come back with the post office markings of, there's usually 3 attempted deliveries. And they have the delivery dates, and if there's no response, they put no response or fail to pick up. And that's enough. That's enough evidence.
The house next door in their defense is vacant and bank-owned and on the market. So the previous owner is not going to respond to that because he doesn't own it anymore anyhow.
Well, again,
That would be the house I told you about.
whoever the owner of record is, and the owner of record is what comes out of the assessor's office. Now, if it's, who's that, Mr. Purcell?
Yeah.
Yeah, if Mr. Purcell's name is still on as owner of record,
Right.
then that's the limit of their responsibility, is to notify the owner of record. If the bank took it back and the bank hasn't filed disclosure or hasn't accepted ownership, and they haven't recorded it with the registry of deeds and notified through the assessor's office, then they've done their due diligence.
So this is going to end up coming before us
It's going to be coming
sometime this
before
winter
us.
Yeah.
as a public hearing.
Right. I mean, I can make it so that it'll be a clean issue before it comes here. If anybody has any input or any comment or anything like that,
I think if we're protecting the homeowner, we should be protecting them by having them create a system that doesn't leave the opportunity for, they shouldn't have to test their well every year and go through the repairing it later after
so what
the
I'll
fact.
do
They
then
should
is I'll
repair it
tell
now.
them they should
They should-
denitrify it and be done with it.
Yeah, and then they won't have any problems going forward in the future, and that's kind of goes along with buying a waterfront property.
It's the safest
Okay.
thing.
All right, then we'll take that approach. Okay, and
That's just my opinion.
Sounds good.
I believe that's all I have. Oh, well, we'll bring it up on the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. Up next, item number 4 under old business is the Ramshorn Road noise complaint, the Ryan Simpson. So we were given a letter that was found in this room in an envelope, and it was addressed to the Board of Health, Teresa Woodford. One of the other clerks came in here to set up for her meeting and found the letter. So Ted's going to read the letter into public record.
So the letter was received on November 20th, but it was written on the 14th. And so it could have been sitting here for 6 days. I guess I'll read it and then we'll discuss.
Yep.
All right, so it's Dear Board of Health, in response to a letter to attend, or contact the board, please accept this letter as my response. Since we last attended the meeting on the 19th of September, my boys have not been out to ride. Also, I have not had time to move anything to block the area 100 feet from corner neighbor's boundary. We will honor what we agreed to by staying back 100 feet from the corner of the boundary. My boys have been instructed to stay back 100 feet, and I expect,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get through
Yeah.
typos here,
Right.
that's all. Expect them to follow my instructions regardless whether we have a barricade or not. When and if we can, we will still notify the board next time we will be riding, so you can do your sound checks. Please note, board members are welcome to come down to my property, in parentheses, board members only, anytime. If you do, you can clearly see my riding, see no riding behind hay trailer has happened due to all the grass that has grown. We are heading into the winter and it is unlikely much, if any, riding with dirt bikes will happen until spring. Although we do have snowmobiles, and I am sure no one will complain about, I'm sure someone will complain about that too. We will, I just need to mark that so I can get back to that.
Yep.
We will also not be responding to this type of complaint either, unless we are somehow breaking the law by riding our snowmobiles on our own property. We would also like to address the board as one member accused us of not being neighborly. We have given up thousands of feet of our property that border our neighbor and are now giving up hundreds more square feet to be accommodating and neighborly. Our neighbors contribution has been dozens of complaints and insults, and insulted my boys with death threats. This nonsense needs to stop. The Board of Health, the building inspector, the zoning board, and any other office have better things to do than hassle us about not breaking the law. We are doing our neighborly part by not using our land that we own to accommodate the neighbors. It's time the neighbors let this go and move on. Feel free to contact me by email, as we will not be attending any more meetings about this nonsense. Pardon my reading skills getting through that.
It's okay.
That's okay.
It's hard.
When I read it to myself at home, it wasn't as difficult. This time I was trying to read it accurately and realized there were some
That's okay.
typos. Anyway, to address, now that we can, now we're going to discuss.
Yes. So we had sent him a letter after, so let's back up, two months ago. They all met here. He said that he was going to, within a week, move the items and have us down to do readings. He did not do that, nor did he respond to any of our phone calls. So it was discussed at the last meeting to send him a letter to appear or to contact the office. And was there anything about the readings at that time? No, okay. Because we were going to go from there. So now we've received that letter from Mr. Simpson. So,
Have there ever been complaints about snowmobiles in the past?
No.
no.
No, so that's not an issue. Just going to the facts of his letter, basically, rather than anything else. Were there ever any reports, police reports about death threats? Would that ever brought up in the past? I mean, that's a police report, not our
Right, that's
issue.
not us.
That's a police jurisdiction.
Yeah, and as far as any of the other facts of the meeting, that there would have been any, we can review the meeting, or anybody can review the meeting.
Right.
Because it's recorded about the
And I just want to respond that
unbelief thing.
I don't, that we're hassling, that the boards are hassling him. The boards are responding to a complaint, which is, that's what we're here for, and we have to act and respond on complaints that we receive. And it's our goal to find out if he was breaking a new noise pollution law. So it wasn't like just out of the blue. We have to, we get numerous complaints about many things, and we respond to them all.
If I may, Madam Chairman,
Certainly.
one of the, if we stay focused on what our what our job is. And our job is to bring people into compliance. Our job is not to punish people, is not to go after them for their past sins or any of that, unless it's a continuous situation. Mr. Simpson now is in his own way extended extended communication to us that he will comply with the buffer zone as he agreed, although he hasn't physically gone out and put the buffer zone in. But he says that he and his contemporaries will abide by the recommendation. To this point, there hasn't been any more violation of notices or complaints, so it appears as though the situation has been remedied, at least at this time.
I agree that, you
Yes.
know, who are we to make him barricade or do anything on his land to block off that area? If he doesn't use the area, then that solves our problem.
That's within, right, that's the 100 feet, then we're,
Then we have no, we have no.
So it
Right.
appears, so I think maybe my suggestion is a thank you letter sent to him and explain, you know, thank you very much. I understand that we're all very busy, and our job is not to punish people and not to do this. Our job is to bring people into compliance, and whatever mechanism you've seen fit to take to achieve compliance is fine with the board, as long as compliance is adhered to.
right. I
And the
agree.
last thing I want to do is go down there with the, and measure noise. It's not really what we want to do.
No.
Not really. We're not,
We just want things to be, like we said, he's willing, that's perfectly fine.
As long as the situation's been remedied, I think that
Yeah. And at this
our
point-
job is done, we were successful. May not have been,
It's okay.
we don't expect people to kowtow to us, but it's done.
Yep, I feel at this point,
Copy of this letter, Mike.
Until,
You
I
wanna-
don't know, yeah.
but we'll have this on record, this will stay in the file,
What
which
you
is
might
good.
want to do also, because you don't really know where that letter came from, other than you know where it came from, but
Right,
Send him
you
a
don't know
copy
that it
back.
was from him.
yes,
You may want to send a copy of it back to him as well, along with the cover letter. Thank you very much for your communication. If this was from you, blah, blah.
Right.
It sounds like it's from him.
He has requested that we contact him via email. Do you want me to do this via email? Write the letter, sign it, but then send it to him through email?
I would send it
With
to him
the
through
stamp.
email
And
and
also
also mail it to
mail.
him through
Snail
email.
Yes.
mail as well, yeah.
both, most definitely. Yep, that works.
I'm sorry, I
That
should
works.
let you say that.
No, that's fine.
I'm going for your job.
You can have it. Okay, any other old business? Okay, moving on. Under new business, this is something that we will have on the agenda every month now. We're gonna have, we'll be having a clerk's report. Teresa's gonna give us just a little rundown of like how many permits, just so that you guys know what she's doing and what's going on in the town. Okay?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
How much time have
30
you been
seconds
given?
or less.
Of
Oh,
your time?
Yes.
10 minutes is too long.
25,
So
35
we had-
seconds.
Here's the facts, man, just
2 housing complaints in the month of October, 2 well permits were issued. We had 21 ADSCP permits so far for 2017, 3 in October, 2 in November. It's septic systems, sorry. All of the food permit renewals have been sent out. We've received 12 back so far without issue. One's missing a signature, but he's coming in on Thursday to sign it. I sent 16 septic inspection requests to Mr. Purcell or to Mrs. Canoyer. We had a tobacco inspection that was done again. I believe, Tom, you received a copy of it with 1 violation. State reporting is in process, barn inspections, food inspections, both in process. And that's it, that's all I have.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Told you, 30 seconds. No.
That was 1
It
minute.
might
but
take
that's
10
okay.
minutes for my questions, but all good. Thank you.
Questions, comments, views, or opinions?
Thank you. Okay, so 2 other things under new business.
Oh,
Sorry.
careful.
Sorry.
You're being
Oh, I'm
used.
so sorry. Under new business, so food permits we have a little bit of a discrepancy on food permit applications. So, we have 3 stores that are very similar. 2 are being charged one, and 1 is being charged another. Should they all be the same?
They should all be the same.
That was brought up, and that's what I thought, but I wanted to bring it here.
It appears as though Teresa and I were reviewing what's happened and how it's happened in the past. And I think that somebody got, not necessarily our office, but I think an applicant got a little creative
Yeah,
and said because they're selling all kinds of other things and they have some retail food,
right.
they're not a supermarket, so
They should be
they
charged
should
a
be
lesser.
charged a lesser in limited food retail. And that's not so.
So they all will be the same.
The one for the limited food service would be like a gas station that's selling soda and crackers,
Right.
or something like that.
Very limited.
Really limited.
Yes.
If you look under the retail food, it says all package stores. Even a package store is retail food. It is not a limited food like, again,
Like
the
some-
applicant has selectively picked.
Yes.
Because it's a $75 fee instead of a $600 fee, or whatever the size of his facility is,
Yes.
okay? So,
Okay. Just as, I'm sorry. Go
What
ahead.
kind of a difference in
75 versus 600.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh.
Actually, it's 50 versus 600.
Yeah, 50 versus 600, so.
If you had the option, Ted, of getting a $12 driver's license or $250
I'll
one,
take it, yeah.
Yeah.
So it will be across the board, that all 3 stores, because they all are,
unless you want to review for next year, the selective process, and probably you might want to consider eliminating certain classifications.
right.
So we can subject that.
Are they significantly less on what they're selling?
No.
The square footage, based on square footage, Ted.
Yeah.
Under 2,500 square feet, 5,000 square feet, and 10,000 square feet or more. The fees are 100, 250, and 600 or something like that. 100, 3, and 6.
150, 350, and 600.
Okay.
And all of them fall into the $600 category, all 3.
And 2 have been, well, 1 has paid that. 1 will be paying that because they're brand new.
1 paid the 350 when they should have been paying the 600.
We'll bring them up to code.
1
Yeah.
paid the 50.
Yep.
The new one will be paying the 600.
Right. And you know they're all similar stores.
Well, I mean, I'm running it through my head who they are, I guess. We're not
For
saying
their
out loud
renewal.
Well,
first.
it doesn't matter, no.
Yeah, you
You can say
you
it's,
say it out
it's,
loud.
you have Family Dollar, you have Dollar General, and now we have the Dollar Tree coming in. All 3 of them sell food, all 3 of them sell frozen items, cold items,
And they should all be paying the
and
same.
they haven't been, and that came across today. I think one of them,
Is the
I think
longest
when
running one in town?
They
the one
got
that's paying
creative
the
in
least
filling out the
amount?
application, and it slipped through.
Yeah.
All of them go back to 2012, pay the same
Where's Family Dollar?
incorrect amount.
yeah, Firebrands?
Who?
Firebrands, the old
88s.
Oh,
Park and shop,
like Firebirds?
So they, yeah. so
big lots,
They should all pay
I
the
know what
same.
that is.
Effective
That
this
would be
year.
Dollar Tree.
the old one.
Yes, so Tom and I discussed it, and he asked that I please notify them all that effective immediately, they are required to be paying the $600 a year.
Just send them a notice that there
Licensing.
seems to be some misunderstanding
Still can't
on the type of
see
facility
other
you are.
places.
The Board of Health has reviewed
Yeah.
your application, and you do fall under,
And Dollar Tree
the
is
full
going to be
food
going in
service.
right next to Family Dollar.
Okay, so it's not here yet.
It's on its way.
Okay, because I'm like, I can't,
Right.
we're in this small town, can I not picture where it is?
It's right, gonna be right next to
Okay.
Family Dollar, so.
So their renewal applications have already been sent to them, so I will be sending them an additional letter. The woman that is in charge of Dollar Tree is also in charge of Family Dollar, and she knows that this is coming. I spoke with her on the phone today. She's a very pleasant woman, by the way. So she knows that she'll be hearing from me either Thursday or Monday.
They're corporate, right? It shouldn't be a problem.
no.
No, it shouldn't be an issue, it's just been, so I just wanted to bring it all to the
Yeah,
same,
like I said, I think it was somebody got creative in filling out the application,
yeah.
and it slipped through the crack.
Maybe they didn't have food in the beginning, who knows?
Well, I know
They
Family Dollar in the beginning didn't have the cold section, they brought that in
They didn't have that
afterwards.
freezer section or whatever.
So, and that
Yeah.
could have been,
They were selling all kinds of
I
cookies
know.
and chips and
we'll get it all,
We'll fix
more
it.
money for the town, bringing everybody equal across the board, life is good.
Lord knows,
Sounds
we need the
good.
money so we can hire more people, so.
Yeah.
Are we talking about that other issue?
I'm
Other
bringing
thing?
it up.
Oh, okay.
See?
Just trying to move you along.
Anti pants.
Okay, next up under new business is, so there is a vendor fair going on up at Shepherd Hill on December 10th. It's put on by the show choir, and there is a food vendor who's coming in, and he's donating 100% of his sales back to the show choir. So he was inquiring about a waived vendor fee. Now, didn't we get into this
We've
before?
had this
We did.
conversation before.
This sounds like deja vu.
And I think it's wonderful that he's donating 100% of his profits to the show choir. But off of his profits come the fee to have the permit. And the town is not donating to the show choir. So therefore, it's not a negotiable fee, in my opinion. Somebody can shoot me later. I just feel that it's not
I know,
negotiable.
no, and I know we waive fees for nonprofits for food permits, temporary ones. I know we do that. But he is a business, correct?
How
So,
much is
It's
the
asking
permit?
us for a donation to the show choir, and that's not our position to give.
it's a $50, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
$50.
He was told to request it, not by us.
Yeah, right. That's my opinion. What do you think?
He's still
You
got to
said
be
no
in.
the last time?
He's still going to be inspected. There's a fee that goes along with an inspection, and it's just like when you're building a school. When you're building a school, there are permit fees that have to be paid,
Yes,
because the inspectors have to be paid.
yes.
The building inspector, the electrical inspector, the health inspector do not go in and do inspections for free.
No. That's the
It's
thing,
part of their job, yes, but there's a fee that's attached to it.
we're still paying, short of saying, we're still paying the inspector to go out and do the inspection.
People are under the misconception that that $50 fee is a profit fee that the town is out beating the bushes to make money. We're not doing that. That's an inspection fee to cover the cost of the inspection fee. To send an agent out or to send an inspector out to do the inspections the way they're supposed to be done. We went in and did the inspections at the last fair they had at Shepherd Hill. We had 9 or 11 vendors or whatever it was, and all the inspections were done. And a lot of that, of course, the vendors are there. The vendors are, it's a non-profit type of a situation, except that non-profit group charged the vendors for selling,
Mhm.
for floor space, for buying floor space, and the vendors went in and made money on it. How are we to know whether the vendor is he's giving the profit, or is he giving all of his sales?
Right.
How are we to know? doesn't matter whether we know or not. I mean, I agree with you. That is not a money-making thing, that's to pay the inspector.
So I think what we should do is make a motion, and this goes into our books, so that this is bottom line. You know, final, there will be no more.
If it's a nonprofit facility, you know, like the church,
Right,
or the Boy Scouts, or the, you know, or the PTA, or something like that.
if they're
But
the ones.
If you're bringing in a vendor that's going to be conducting business,
501c, then you don't get it.
That's right,
You must provide 501c.
yeah. That's perfect. So this way, if we entertain it into a motion, there'll be no further discussion going forward. It'll be something that we put right into our
What are we going to put in there? We're still going to, if it's a nonprofit and they approach us, we're still willing to waive fees for that, or we're not at all?
Right, as long as,
anymore?
as long
This
as,
is not a nonprofit.
No.
This is a
business.
who's
yeah,
who's
if they can
who's
demonstrate
donating
that
his
they're a
time.
nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
If it was the choir group that was
right,
doing it, then that's a whole different ballgame. But for a vendor to come in and say, we went through this before up at another facility where they had a big cookout and everything else.
Mhm.
Well, I'm going to be donating my profits, or some of my profits, to the town. Oh, we didn't know. The whole idea behind it is, and actually technically you can't waive a fee to a private individual.
We don't have to make a motion, because these don't, do we? I mean, these don't come up very often.
it's been twice in the past year.
Well,
We
again, you
can
can,
streamline our answer.
what you can
No.
do is, you can put that as if you want to create a policy,
Right,
create a policy that you will consider waiving the fees for any nonprofit organization. They have to demonstrate that they are a proper legal, I forget what the
Don't you need a tax ID number?
501.
tax ID number, what is it, Brian?
501c.
501c.
They have to produce a 501c of nonprofit status.
What's the motion sound like?
Me,
What does the motion
no
sound like?
fees will be waived for food permits unless it is a non-profit organization that can provide us with a 501c documentation.
Yeah.
We need to write
Motion
that
made.
down. Teresa, good.
I wrote fee waiver for 501c charity organizations only. No private.
Each subject to Board of Health review. A Board of Health member review.
Upon review? Okay.
Upon
So
approval.
current policy will be fee waiver for 501c charity organizations only after Board of Health review, no private businesses.
Need apply.
Board of Health member, don't make it that it has to come to a meeting.
A Board of Health member.
Member. Because we don't want to have a meeting.
We don't need to discuss this
Right.
in a meeting.
No.
No. Somebody provides us with
Right, as
With the
long as
proper
we see,
documentation
one of
of
us sees
nonprofit
proper
status.
documentation, we're good.
So no private businesses will be considered for this.
You don't have to reiterate that.
No.
You don't have to state that. All you have to do is just say the nonprofit stat must demonstrate nonprofit status. Example, 501c. Or whatever the
501c is the only one that's
So
recommended.
we make a
Right.
motion to do
Tax
that.
rules.
So
You have
the
to say
motion
that back.
is, I make a motion that, I have to clarify this in my
I know.
mind,
Can we just read
that only nonprofits, organizations that provide a
501c.
501c will be considered for a waiver of the permitting fee. Considered.
Yes.
Yep. by a Board of Health member.
by a Board of Health member.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Beautiful. Any other new business? Okay. Up next, real quick, our next meeting will be January. As it stands right now, we don't have anything pressing in December, even if that gentleman does have all his ducks in a row.
There's no
It's not
construction
gonna-
anyhow, right?
Right, there's no construction, so putting it off till January so that we all can stay organized through the month of December is not a big deal, because I know it's a hectic month all around. So the next meeting will be on Tuesday, January 16th. Okay?
Great.
All right,
There's no school.
anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion made by Roberta to adjourn and a second. Any
you
other
say that out
discussion?
loud?
Yes, seeing
Yay.
none.
I'm gonna hurry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.